Hey, welcome everyone. There's someone on your mind right now, isn't there? And I don't even have to tell you who it is because you already know. The second you saw this title, a face appeared in your thoughts, a name, a feeling. That specific person who's been occupying space in your awareness lately, even when you're trying not to think about them. I'm Anna, and if you're here, I think you're hoping for some kind of connection to this person, some kind of understanding about what's happening between you, some kind of message that might bring clarity to whatever this dynamic is. So let's explore this. The energy around the person on your mind. What might be happening for them? What patterns might be present? And what that could mean for you. Take what resonates here. This reflection is about exploring possibilities, not making predictions. You remain in control of your choices, always. This is simply an invitation to consider what you might already be sensing. Let me start by asking you something. Why is this person on your mind? Like, really on your mind? Is it because you miss them? Because you're angry at them? Because you're confused about them? Because you want something from them? Because you can't figure them out? Because something feels unfinished? The reason matters because the energy you're bringing to this reading, the lens you're looking through, that shapes what you're able to receive. If you're desperate for contact, you might interpret everything as a sign they're coming back. If you're hurt, you might interpret everything as confirmation they don't care. So check in with yourself about what you're actually hoping to hear. You know what I'm picking up on? There may be something unspoken between you and this person, something that hasn't been fully addressed. Maybe it's feelings that weren't expressed. Maybe it's a conversation that got cut short. Maybe it's an understanding that was never reached. But there's this sense of incompleteness in the connection. And that incompleteness might be why they keep showing up in your thoughts. Your mind returns to what's unresolved. It's trying to process. It's trying to make sense of things. It's trying to find closure or clarity or understanding. And in the absence of actual communication with this person, your mind just keeps circling. Let me paint you a picture. You're doing something completely unrelated. You're working, you're watching something, you're having a conversation with someone else, and suddenly, out of nowhere, this person pops into your head, their face, something they said, a memory with them. And it's not even a conscious choice. Your mind just went there, like it has its own agenda. Have you been experiencing that, these random intrusions of this person into your awareness? Because I think that's common when there's unfinished energy with someone. When something between you hasn't been fully metabolized or integrated or released. Now let's talk about what might be happening on their side. And I want to be really clear here. I can't tell you what someone else is thinking or feeling with certainty. I can only reflect on energy patterns that some people experience. So take this as possibility, not prediction. There may be times when this person thinks about you too, when you cross their mind in unexpected moments, when they remember something about you or wonder how you're doing or replay interactions you had. That doesn't mean they're obsessing over you. It doesn't mean they're about to reach out. It just means you existed in their life, you made an impact, and that doesn't just disappear when contact ends or distance grows. Um, um, Let me slow down here because I think what people really want to know is, does this person miss me? Do they regret how things went? Do they want to reconnect? Are they thinking about reaching out? And those are such specific questions about someone else's internal state that I can't answer them with certainty. What I can say is this: if there was genuine connection between you, if there were real feelings involved, those things don't just evaporate, They might change form. They might get buried under other priorities or fears or new relationships. But the mark you left on each other, that persists in some way. Let me ask you something else. What would you want this person's message to be? If they could communicate something to you right now, what would actually matter? An apology? An explanation? A confession of feelings? An acknowledgement of what happened between you? Just simple contact saying they think about you? Your answer to that question tells you what you're really seeking, and it might help you understand whether you're looking for closure, validation, reconnection, or something else entirely. Drop a comment if you already know what you'd want to hear, because I think being honest about that is powerful. It cuts through all the games we play with ourselves about not caring or being over it. You know what I'm also sensing? Some of you might be on this person's mind because they have regrets, not necessarily about the relationship or connection as a whole, but about specific moments. Things they said that came out wrong, things they didn't say that they wish they had, choices they made that they'd make differently now, with the benefit of hindsight. And carrying regret about someone, that creates its own kind of weight. It might show up as them occasionally checking your social media or asking mutual friends about you in casual ways, or drafting messages they don't send, or thinking about you when they encounter things that remind them of you. But thinking about someone and acting on those thoughts, those are two very different things. And this is where it gets complicated. Let me share something with you. Sometimes people think about us all the time and still choose not to reach out. Not because their feelings aren't real, but because they've decided, for whatever reason, that contact isn't the right move. Maybe they think too much time has passed. Maybe they're in a new relationship. Maybe they're convinced you've moved on. Maybe they're protecting themselves from potential rejection. Maybe they just don't know what to say. So if this person is thinking about you, if you're on their mind, that doesn't automatically translate into them doing anything about it. And that can be frustrating because you want the thoughts to lead somewhere. You want them to mean something tangible. But sometimes they just exist in that person's private experience without ever becoming action. Is less than, Hasson. 0 is greater than. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if this person does have a message for you, but it's not one they can articulate? What if what they're trying to communicate isn't in words, but in energy? In the fact that you keep thinking about each other? In the way certain songs or places or memories still carry charge? Some messages exist in the space between people, in what's felt rather than said, in recognition that something was real even if it didn't work out, in acknowledgement that you mattered to each other, even if the timing was wrong or the circumstances were impossible. Can you receive that kind of message? Can you let it be enough? Or do you need something more concrete? Let me ask you another question. Have you been getting any actual signs from this person? Not signs from the universe like seeing repeating numbers, but real tangible signs. Have they been liking your posts, viewing your stories, showing up in places you frequent, asking mutual friends about you? Or has it been complete silence? Because if there's actual behavior you can point to, that's information that tells you something about whether their thoughts about you are staying internal or starting to leak out into observable action. And that difference matters when you're trying to understand what's really happening. You know what else I'm picking up on? The possibility that you and this person might both be waiting, both holding back, both wondering if the other still cares, both afraid to reach out first, both interpreting silence as disinterest when it might actually be fear or uncertainty. If that's your situation, then the message this person might have for you is the same message you might have for them. I think about you. I wonder about you. I'm not sure where we stand. I'm not sure if you'd want to hear from me, but you're still here in my thoughts. And that's such a human thing. Two people circling each other, both feeling something, both doing nothing about it because the risk feels too big. Let me offer you a different perspective. What if the message isn't about whether they want you back or miss you or regret things? What if the message is simpler? What if it's just, you were important to me. What we had was real. I carry that with me, even if we're not in contact anymore. Can that be enough? Can you receive that without needing it to mean more? Can you let someone have held space for you in their life, even if they're not holding that space anymore? Because sometimes the message we need to hear isn't about the future. It's about validation of the past. It's about knowing we weren't alone in what we felt, that the connection was mutual, that we mattered. Let me share something else with you. You being on someone's mind doesn't obligate them to contact you. And someone not contacting you doesn't mean you're not on their mind. These things can coexist. Someone can think about you every day and still choose not to reach out because they've decided it's healthier for both of you to maintain distance. And that's hard to accept because we want thoughts to become action. We want feelings to become communication. We want internal experiences to manifest in external behavior. But people are complicated. They can feel multiple things at once. They can want something and also want to protect themselves from it. Let me ask you one more thing. What would change for you if you knew for certain this person thinks about you? Would it bring you peace? Would it make letting go easier? Would it make holding on feel more justified? Would it shift how you feel about yourself? Because I think sometimes we're seeking external validation for internal questions. We want someone else's thoughts about us to answer questions about our own worth or value or lovability. And that's giving them too much power. Your value doesn't depend on whether you occupy someone's mental space. Here's what I want you to consider. Maybe the message you're seeking from this person isn't one they can give you. Maybe the message you actually need is one you have to give yourself. Something like, what we had was real, it mattered, it shaped me, and now it's time to integrate that experience and move forward. That's not as romantic as waiting for them to confess undying feelings, but it might be more useful. It might actually help you heal or grow or create space for what's next. Is less than has home. 0 is greater than. Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't, and remember that you remain in control of your attention, of your energy, of whether you keep this person on a pedestal in your mind or let them become just someone you used to know. The person on your mind right now might think about you sometimes. They might carry memories of you. They might wonder how you're doing, but you can't live in their head. You can't know for certain what they feel. You can only know what you feel and decide what you want to do with that. Is less than has hon. 0 is greater than. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that if communication is meant to happen, it can happen. Trust that you don't need someone else's validation to move forward with your life. And trust that whoever is meant to be in your life will show up clearly, not leave you guessing. Is less than has hon. 0 is greater than. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being honest about who's on your mind. Thank you for being willing to sit with uncertainty. You're exactly where you need to be in this moment of wondering. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. I'll see you in the next one. And take care. And remember, your worth isn't determined by whether you're on someone's mind. You're valuable regardless. I don't sell futures. I build architects. Not predictions, just the naked truth for the hard ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.